in a decent order to minimize and addresses their academic, social, and emotional growth and prepares them to be successful and productive in their
Amen.
All right, roll call. Seth Hansen, here. Amanda Burton, here. Christine Frederick, here. Christine Greer. Edgar, here. Thank you. All right, moving on the agenda. So first up is audience comments. All public comments are limited to items on the board's agenda and 3 minutes in length. So we've had a couple of people sign up in the hallway. I'm going to remind everybody of some rules before we get to that list. These are rules from our board policy. These are not new rules. These have been in existence much longer than I've been around. So we do prohibit public comments which are frivolous, repetitive, or harassing. We will interrupt, warn, or terminate your statement if the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. All right, so first up, I've got Paul Honeycutt.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Honeycutt. I am a former Whiting student, athlete, class of 2002, and former Whiting parent to Matthew Honeycutt, who would have graduated in 2019. But tonight I come to you as a property owner whose family is on the cusp of making the move back to my old hometown. However, and this is not specific, due to the recent turnover and turmoil, has made me think twice. My question to the school board is, can you please explain to me why I should enroll my 6-year-old in the school district that I loved and still love to this day?
Thank you for your comments. As everyone in the audience is well aware, we cannot answer comments during board meetings. Next up is Tammy Clemens.
Good evening. I'm also a parent of a Whiting student. I'm here to ask the board to vote no in hiring Howe & Associates Consulting. As a stakeholder in this district, I have yet to see the sufficient evidence or data of any internal reviews that our district administration or school board has done. Concerns about climate, culture, and retention were brought up by many stakeholders at the June board meeting. And yes, you did provide us with some information on financial increases, such as stipends and increasing pay, which is great to hear, because we know that that is our biggest concern in our district. But money can only go so far, and what we don't see is the actual data. Where is the data from exit interviews, or the data from teacher administration discussions that were also listed in that information that was given? If exit interviews are not being done, you need to ask yourself why, as board members, why aren't they being done? It is pertinent information for this district to reflect on and a base to make your decisions moving forward. If a staff member refuses to have an exit interview or doesn't bring up concerns, you also have to ask yourself why. Is the administration approachable to discuss concern? Has the administration assumed any accountability as far as concerns the stakeholders have expressed? The possible money that could be spent in hiring this firm, which has not been given to the stakeholders, we're hearing that it's over $150,000 or around that. I hope you guys can clarify that for us. But hiring this consulting group can go towards new teacher training and working on climate within the school, and I'm sure many other ways to go directly to the staff. You can see that we have a substantial amount of people that are invested in this district. Many of us are professionals, some of us in education, some of us in business, some of us teachers, some of us business owners in this district. I would suggest, instead of spending the money on somebody else, $150,000, let's use the people in this district and the community and work with the staff along with the board members and the administration to help support the climate in a way that's not going to cost this district that we cannot afford. There are ways that this can be handled in a professional and confidential manner, and I'm asking you to vote no to hiring Howe & Associates Consulting. In closing, in regards to personnel and no longer listing resignations or new hires directly on the agenda, This directly contradicts what stakeholders have been saying about transparency and better communication. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, Chris Davenport, 1612 Center Street, right across the street, 1992, a Whiting graduate. I'm here to talk about the constant personnel turnover at this school and how it has impacted these children. I ask all of you that you're supposed to have these kids' best interests at heart. So obviously just looking in the mirror and asking what's going on isn't good enough. Go find these kids, look them in the eye, see if they're any better. When we lose good teachers, like we got some in this room, great human beings who have reached out to the board president and told their issues. Many of them afraid to go on the record. That's a problem. That's a problem when people are afraid of backlash. A complete problem. And it's time for something to be done. As we can see, we can't even keep people's attention here when someone is speaking in the audience. That is disrespect. That is passing of the notes. You're messing on the computer. Disrespect. We listen when it's your turn. It's probably time when the stakeholders here in this room are speaking. Thank you very much.
Hello, to those who don't know me, my name is Tom Ehrlich. I've taught at Whiting High School for the past 5 years. I also served as assistant football coach, head wrestling coach, as well as class sponsor. I'm speaking here today on my resignation. You can find that on the agenda under personnel changes. On the agenda under personnel changes. Because somebody made the cowardly decision to not even list the resignations. It is a shame that there is such a fear of showing what is really going on here today. And that goes hand in hand with the decision to not even live stream the board meeting. The reason I resigned is not because of money or displeasure with my classroom. No, I have loved my time working at Whiting and working with the students. The students have left a lasting impact on me, as I hope I have left on them. And I have met coworkers that have become lifelong friends and some even family. The reason I left is because of the culture of disrespect created by this administration. It has been rampant for years, but it has boiled over for many people, including myself. To make a very long story short, and I was given permission by my family to talk about this, I was blessed with a newborn baby in February. She was 3 weeks premature, and she had been born with jaundice, which required phototherapy. I held her hands for 24 hours as she cried and wailed. My wife was bedridden, being pumped with magnesium for her preeclampsia. We were in the hospital for almost a week. Before we came home, and my wife's postpartum depression had really kicked in. I missed several days of school because I was at home holding my family when they needed me. I returned to school after a couple of weeks and had received a heartbreaking call from my dad, who had been diagnosed with cancer. These were some of the hardest times of my entire life. And the only response I received from admin was that I was being told I was going to be docked a professional point for missing more than 15 days.
Ooh. Oh. Wow. Boo.
To those unaware, the wording in the contract is that a person who is absent for 16 or more days is, quote, subject to administrative review, meaning that this is not an automatic thing, but something that the administration has to make a decision on. It's not automatic. The administration was aware of my situation. They were aware of my situation, every part of it, and my struggles, and still decided to dock me a point. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. This is just one story. It is the tip of the iceberg for many people. So I call the school board. I call on you to action. Start having exit interviews. Talk to these teachers that are leaving or have already left in past years. You need to talk to them. You will never know unless you ask them specifically. I promise you that. In my opinion, there's a clear answer to what needs to happen, and it's the resignation of 2 people. Many teachers that have left have confided in me that they will refuse to return to Whiting until there are, and to steal a phrase from this agenda, personnel changes. Wow. Thank you for your time.
Wow.
2015 to 2021. I will say that this was my first teaching job. I came into this job with a lot of optimism, with a lot of hope. My very first evaluation was that I was an ineffective educator. How would that make you feel on your first year, doing things that you love, to be told you're doing everything wrong? Over the next 4 years, I was berated, I was told I was ineffective, I was harassed by administration that was there at that time. The reason why I left is because there is a culture of disrespect in this district, especially at the administration level. We had a wonderful principal the last 2 years, he even left. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to create a culture here where you want to be appreciated and just simple human aspects, treat people with respect. I love the kids that I worked with here. I really didn't want to leave here, but I felt that it was unsustainable for me as an educator to continue to work under the atmosphere that this district had created.
Regarding personnel, but the personal change and turnover is a problem, and I know that you're aware of this by failing to change rules of like who can talk or what subjects or agenda items and non-agenda items are changing. I do have printed from your the school's website this last updated on 12/27/21 regarding who and what questions is spoken about. To permit fair, orderly expression, the board shall provide a period of public participation at regular meeting. The board shall publish procedures to govern such participation in these board meetings. If there was a last minute change, which was now to limit them to non-agenda items, it says the presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the procedures of the board for its conduct. D, a time limit of 30 minutes meeting for participant comments on agenda items and 30 minutes of meeting on non-agenda items will be enforced. If these were to be changed, in the own bylaws, it says that it should be published. I'm sure if an email went out to some parents, not all parents, and certainly not the public at large, considered published. That's unfortunate because that was misleading. The email that we received from the superintendent last Friday stating that we have changed the rules based on something that went into effect on July 1st, 2021. I assume that you're referring to House Bill 1130. And which does state that participation is required at school board meetings governed by a governing body, which is the school board, not the superintendent. Therefore, the school board would have had to agree to limit and change the rules that are in your own bylaws. Did why? And why not publish them? And why limit speech amongst your neighbors and your community? And that's really frustrating for all of us that have been talking, and you know what's on our minds, you know what we've been doing, right? We're transparent, right? We ask you to be as well. We have over 600 signatures in a petition we've been gathering. You know what that is, and you can roll your eyes, and I understand you may not agree with that, and that's, push your head.
It was more of a,
I'm not quite sure, okay?
not really a high role.
But we have them.
It's unprofessional.
We have them, and it's something that you want to discuss as parents in the community. You're our children's best interests at heart. You don't know what your interests are. You're trying to change things in this chicanery that just is sad. I'm not using mean words, but it's really, really sad and shameful. You want to talk about something that's concerned about our students in this community moving forward. But to try and stifle that is just, it's shameful. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. And we are moving on the agenda to the superintendent's report. Questions
Can't hear you.
We looked at our numbers, we currently have 403 active seats at David Hale, 258 at the middle school, and 460 at White High School, so a total of 1,101 active seats, and that does not include our pre-K.
Can you speak up a little? It's very hard to hear. We can't hear you.
In-person registration is underway right now.